What is happening, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the 182 News Podcast. This is your host, Poppin' Curbs, and it's been a while. Oh my gosh, I don't even know how to work this thing. I'm shocked. I'm trying to think of what the last episode was. I think it was with JP Tron Walker, the tattoo artist who redid the anime logo, if I recall correctly. Pretty sure. I know it's been some time. Obviously, we have got a lot to dive into today. I haven't been able to get a pod out for several months. Part of that is personal, part of it not so much, not to get too deep into anything, but the past 10 months for me and my family have been honestly pretty terrible. Long story short, wife had about the worst pregnancy possible, had a rare condition, had to quit her job. We had at-home nurses, tons of ER visits. Right when we thought that would finally kind of come to an end with the birth of our daughter, the baby was born and needed a couple weeks in the NICU. So that was earlier this month. I appreciate everybody who reached out to me during that time and shot me messages. I was honestly kind of blown away. It's just a very scary thing. It's out of your hands. But happy to report that everybody is home, everybody is healthy, starting to get on the up and up, just kind of trying to figure out this new normal with another baby. I'm going on 2 hours of sleep today. I'm all jacked up on coffee and Blink-182. Okay, it's a big one today, folks. Now, part of the reason as well that I wasn't able to get anything out the past few months is really it worked out because there wasn't a ton to talk about. Now, people were asking me about the lineup and my thoughts on some of the rumors and comments that were floating around. And to be quite frank, I'm a terrible liar. I wouldn't have been able to have an episode about those and be authentic about it. I'm not a liar. I'm not here to fool anybody. I'm not here for clickbait. I'm not here for the rumor mill. I don't give a fuck about people going to my YouTube page. I don't know how to do reels. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to just talk about the band I love so much. And today, now that everything has been officially announced, I am stoked to dive into this. This has kind of been a long time coming. It's just the best thing in the world for me to wake up and see everybody so stoked about Blink-182. I mean, I literally talk to myself about Blink-182. That's what this podcast is. I mean, just talking to a microphone for 2 hours to yourself about this band. That's what I do. So to see, gosh, damn near the whole world talking about Blink today, it just makes me so fucking happy. It's an exciting time. It's literally a new era. Everybody kept this super tight-lipped. I want to give a huge shout out to the folks behind the scenes, out of respect for the band, out of respect for the folks who work with the band and did a ton of hard work for the promotion and building all of this stuff. You won't find me talking about these items prior to official statements. So that's why mum is the word from me on my accounts. However, big news out this morning, trending on Twitter. Everybody's talking about it. And, I'm gonna come up with a term here. It is T-Day. Tom is back, folks. A year ago, I don't know that I could have predicted this. We're going to get into it a little bit. So, let's start here. We find out this morning, not only is Tom back, we've got a world tour. It gets better. We've got a new song coming, and we've got a new album coming. I mean, literally, it's like the epitome of what you could ever want as a Blink fan this morning. It's just the most rad day ever. I want to start here. I got to thank Matt, okay? Matt Skiba came in graciously, and, he knew what he was up against, and he knew that he had to fill shoes that were basically unfillable. And unfortunately, during, his era with Blink, he had to deal with quite a bit of bullshit, and it's not something that he asked for and definitely didn't deserve, in my opinion. But I want to thank him for his time. Now, something that's kind of fascinating to me, if you think about the Skiba era, it's really 2016 through 2019. We got Cali Deluxe, and then we get 9. That's a 3-year period. And it really came to an end, I guess, the last day of that Enema of the State 20th anniversary tour, which was, I think, the day 9 dropped. Okay. Yeah, they played a Halloween show after that, and then I think a one-off in January. Um, but really, that era in my mind kind of ended with that tour. In a sense, it's sad because Nine is an incredible album. I love that album. So there will always be a little part of me that's super bummed that Nine didn't get really a proper tour. And honestly, I don't know that we'll ever hear some of those amazing songs live. But I want you to think about this. The time that has passed between that show and now is the same amount of time that that era lasted. So he was in the band for 3 years. That was kind of that Skiba era. It's been 3 years since then, and the world has completely changed. So it's just the past few years have just been really, really weird, to be honest. But it seems like obviously the page has been turned. We're kind of in this new era, and we're going to dive into that. But I do want to say thank you, Matt, for the rad times. I can't thank all those dudes enough for the amount of rad times and excitement and trips and just friends I have made during that era. It will always have a special place in my heart. And there's something that even Skiba said in 2019. I think it was right around the time that Nine was released. There was some promo coming out, and people were starting to wonder if Matt would ever really truly feel like part of Blink, or is it something that he would always kind of feel like an outsider? My hope was that he would somehow feel part of Blink. But, in hindsight, I think he's just such a kind dude that he just couldn't kind of make that commitment from his side of things to where he's going to walk around saying, I'm Blink. I think he worded it best. In this interview, he said, one day we were in the studio and I said to Mark, at some point Tom is going to come back, right? He has to. It would be awesome if he wants to wait a while though, because I'm having way too much fun right now. I think it's kind of inevitable. Seems like they're all friends and they talk. I'm just glad we have this record. He's talking about Nine, and I'm happy to be doing it. I feel like I have carved out my own space. It's something that's taken until now to do, but I know my own role in the band as a third of Blink, and it's something that people have at the very least settled in enough to be like, okay, well, this will do for now until hopefully Tom comes back. So, at that point in time, Skiba, just being the kind soul that he is, to me, he even knew. And the band didn't know at that time. At that point, Mark and Tom, they still weren't talking, and Tom was kind of getting Angels going again. But I really always, I go back to that quote from Matt, because to me, it was him understanding his role. He treated it delicately. He came in graciously, made some incredible albums, made a ton of rad memories for a lot of us. So I don't want to turn this page without properly thanking him. And if you ever see Skiba out and about or coming through your city, he's done a couple tours with Alkaline Trio the past few years. We can get into that. Rumor has it they're going to be making a new album, hopefully. Always support that dude. Yeah, he's a really rad dude. He put up with a ton of shit that, quite honestly, he shouldn't have had to. It's just how the internet works. But I just want to thank Matt to kick this off before we start diving into this, because that ride for me was just an incredible time period, and I will forever cherish, those years. Now, obviously 2020 hits, and at the beginning of that year, Blink had played, I think it was a one-off show, and then we really weren't hearing anything. Well, in March, this thing called COVID hits. And since then, the world has never been the same. We are still dealing with it, really, to an extent, especially in the concert industry and public gatherings, really. It is still affecting how everything works. Now, during that time period, we were kind of wondering, are we going to get Nine Deluxe was rumored. It was brought up that Blink was going to be going out with the Used. So in my mind, I guess that probably would have been the opportunity to play some of those Nine songs live, because at that point, the previous tour, the first 80% of the set list was Enema front to back. So there really weren't too many slots at the bottom to filter in and out some of these new songs. COVID changed everything. So all of a sudden, literally, everybody is stuck at home. You can't go anywhere. And at that point in time, I don't think anybody knew what the future held. We didn't know what was going to be happening, much less trying to predict what would happen with touring musicians and bands and when would we would be able to gather again. I mean, and this was a long time ago at this point. Now, during that time, um, Blink came out with Quarantine, which is rad. And around that time, a lot of folks were kind of freaking out because Matt wasn't really on that song. He was in the video. And at the time, it was, hey, look, Travis has his own studio. Mark had his own studio. Everybody's cooped up. Matt doesn't have one. And it was just something that they put together and put out. And I love that song. I still listen to that song pretty often. But it's at that point where it kind of just seemed like everybody was kind of in their own lane and just trying to, I don't know, I guess, wait out this pandemic and see where everything was going to be. Now, as things started opening up a little bit, Alkaline Trio goes out on a tour with Bad Religion. I actually caught that. I think I did a full episode on that. But there's obviously a very important item, and that was when Mark was diagnosed with cancer. And that's something that, honestly, I've never really talked about on the podcast. It's not really my place to. And, at that time, when Mark told me about it, he wasn't Mark from Blink, who I have a little podcast about, and I have little posters on my wall. He was Mark, my friend, who I play video games with. So, that'll change anybody. And the last thing on anybody's mind when you're told that is, when am I going to make a new record, or how's the new Blink coming along? So, that changes a lot. And thank God, touch wood, Mark was able to beat cancer. One of the happiest days of my life is when he told us he was cancer free, and still is to this day, knock wood. But it was during that time period that we know, and this is because they have talked about it, he reconnected with Tom. And it's one of those things that it's a beautiful thing to have a friend, come back in your life. And it's one of those things to me, like it just seems like they're brothers to me that just get in these fights or disagreements or whatever, and they kind of run off to their rooms. But then at the end of the day, it's just like they've had so many good times together, so many rad memories, the stuff they built together. It really warmed my heart to know that at that time, I mean, everything was dropped and Tom was just back reaching out as a genuine friend at that point. And, that's probably the first time that they had talked in some time, to be honest. I think that's probably where these discussions may have started or would have started. I'm speculating. But based on what they have said publicly, and we know during that time period, is they reconnected during that time. And yeah, on some level, it's kind of sad that it takes a tragedy to pull folks together. But on the flip side of that, I'm really happy that it does pull them together. And, as I get older and go through things, I'm starting to just realize that life is short. I'm sitting here thinking, God, my life's probably half over at this point, at least. 10 years ago feels like 2 days ago in some instances. So, I don't want anybody to have ill will or, any beef. And when you're faced with a situation, that Mark was faced with, I think it's that time where you guys need to squash any beef. It's bigger than music. It's bigger than a disagreement. It's bigger than, who wants to record when or whatever. We don't know exactly what happens during these several Blink breakups, but, it's bigger than that. So, I would encourage you guys, if you have a beef or if you have something that you've wanted to squash or reach out to somebody, do it. You don't know when somebody is going to be here or not, and you don't know when your time is. So, my hope is that, in some sense, you can find some inspiration there to maybe correct some things that you would like corrected. I've been watching a lot of stuff on the Lakers lately. I watched that Redeem Team documentary, which was great. There's a huge thing on the Bus family with the Lakers on Hulu that's amazing. And one of the things that I find is a recurring theme are the folks who just wish they had reached out to Kobe one last time, or who cherished their last, conversation with Kobe and just things like that. And it just really makes you want to reach out to your friends and loved ones and folks who you had good memories with. So to me, I'm so happy that they were able to reconnect during that time period. I mean, think of all the amazing things that those two have done. I mean, it started in Tom's garage, 1992. Here we are 30 years later, and all of the things they've accomplished together and everything that they've done and have seen, and all just because of these dudes who wanted to get together and play music. It's a beautiful thing. So, regardless of the circumstances, the first time it was Travis's plane crash that kind of brought them together. Now it seems like, maybe Mark's cancer kind of brought them together. Whatever the circumstance is, I'm just happy that they were able to get together. And obviously, what we heard today, with the announcement of all this stuff, that's just icing on the cake. I mean, that's a whole other level of just excitement and just shock of what has been happening. It's really cool. When I found out that they were going to be putting this stuff out and announcing a tour and we're working together again, my mind goes immediately to, okay, what's this going to sound like? Really the last, that we've heard with Tom is Dogs Eating Dogs, which most folks thought was a progression on Neighborhoods. But to be honest, I mean, if you go back and listen to Neighborhoods or look up reviews from that time period or kind of pull the fan base at that time period, I know a lot of folks have said it's aged like fine wine. But a lot of people had differing opinions on Neighborhoods at the time. There was a lot of the fan base that was thinking, okay, there are too many delay pedals. There's too many extended intros and outros, and it's a little bit too much AVA. To me, I always felt that it was a perfect kind of progression of where they were at that time because, Tom had been in AVA for several years at that point, several albums. So you can't just rip this stuff out of these folks. But it was a perfect blend, I felt, of where those three were at that time. Travis was really starting to get into his kind of hip hop side of things. Mark was fresh off Plus 44, always bringing the heat. And then Tom, yeah, he was doing the Angel stuff, but it was also still very much Blink. It just was kind of a progression and kind of a new era of it. So Dogs Eating Dogs followed that. And so, at this point, it's been, gosh, I guess 10 years since they've worked together? So a decade. So think of your musical taste, or if you're a musician, think of something you wrote 10 years ago compared to what you're writing today. People change, man. That's a long time. So in my head, especially knowing what Travis has been up to lately, Tom fresh off of Life Forms, and then the past few Blink albums, Nine, all things considered, was really experimental, if you think about it. I mean, it crosses, a lot of things off the checklist in regards to tempos and vibes and such. So immediately my thought is, what is this going to sound like? Are they going to pick up where Dogs Eating Dogs left off? I doubt it, but, who knows at this point? Immediately, to me, Travis is probably as much of a veteran at this point in the producing game, in the music game as you can get. So if anything, even in the past just 3 years, if you look at what Travis has done, dude, it's amazing. I mean, this dude is on basically every record, and you already know he's going to give Blink the priority. So I cannot wait to see what Travis does on this next album, what he brings to the table, because I think he is as good as ever. Mark has always had it. Fresh off of Nine, dude, I love Nine. Still in my CD player. I feel like I'll bring that up every podcast. So, we know Blink still had it, even with Skiba. We know Travis has still got it. If anything, has grown in his role as a producer and fine-tuned his ear. And then Tom, I mean, for all the folks who try to say that Tom isn't good live, or, maybe you didn't like the last few releases. I mean, I went back and listened to Life Forms, which I hadn't listened to in some time. And I love that album. And when I'm listening to it and I'm trying to think of, okay, how could this kind of slide over and become Blink in some capacity, or what would this type of beat or tempo sound like as a Blink song? Or could this be a Blink song? You know, you listen to some of those songs on there, like Euphoria, you listen to Losing My Mind, like stuff like that. I could totally see being a Blink song. No More Guns in some capacity. You know, it's really hard to take the Blink out of Tom because his progressions and the type of notes that he's going to play in guitar and his picking patterns and stuff like that. I mean, it is Blink in some capacity, no matter how you look at it. It just is a matter of if Mark and Travis are there and they're working together and it ends up being, you know, that nice, perfect little pie. But when I was listening to Life Forms and then, you know, really thinking back about the last couple concerts I went to of Angels and Airwaves, I mean, Tom is on top of his game. The dude still got it. For any of the haters out there, he definitely still has it. So when I was starting to picture these three working together, coming up with new music, I mean, I was just so fucking happy for them. Just like literally so happy it could bring me to tears, knowing what Travis has been through, where Travis is at this point in his life, knowing what Mark just went through. I mean, I am so fucking happy for Mark Hoppus. He loves Blink. All he wants to do is play Blink and have fun, and write music. And for him to be able to kind of go back and get this original lineup, you know, not with Scott, but this lineup back together, I'm so stoked for him, and to be able to get back on a stage. I mean, the second I see that dude on stage again with Blink, with a smile on his face, I guarantee you it's going to be a special moment. And then with Tom, you know, honestly, as I start thinking about where everybody has kind of been in their lives, I'm really happy for Tom. I'm really, really fucking happy for Tom. And I know the discussions kind of start with, well, is it going to happen again? Does he have the right intentions? Blah, 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 blah. Just be happy for these folks. Be stoked, you know, for Tom. And again, I don't like to get personal. I don't like to bring in personal lives on this stuff. But Tom has publicly said during the last few years, you know, he went through a divorce. He went through, you know, he got remarried. He went through the whole world telling him he's fucking crazy. He lost his band, you know. He's been out of Blink for some time at this point. I mean, it's been 7 fucking years. And I can't imagine what that dude was going through, and really how lonely that probably could feel. And, you know, I'll say for me, the past 10 months for me have been just absolutely terrible. I mean, there are days where I was just thinking like, oh my God, I may have to pull a Dexter here and just go fucking dip out to Alaska and be a lumberjack, because I can't deal with this. And I can't imagine Tom in his shoes going through what he was going through, knowing what everybody was thinking about him at the time. And, you know, I'm sure it was extremely difficult for him, but he got through it. And to see him get through it, still with his pride, still with that punk rock attitude of, fuck it, I'm going to do what I want to do. You guys can make fun of me all you want. This is what I'm doing at this point in my life. To be able to come back and, you know, obviously realize that he wants to do Blink again, and I'm sure he's fucking stoked for it, and I'm sure they're going to have a great time, and to rekindle that friendship and get back on the stage with those dudes, it's magic. It's a type of magic that you don't get from a lot of bands. It's something that I hope you all get a chance to go see them live. We're going to jump into that here in a minute. But when you see them all out there on a stage again, it's a special moment, and I want you to take it in, because this stuff doesn't last forever. You know, Blink fans throughout the generations, we've been through this. We've seen this over and over and over. But times like this, times like today, I want it to be a celebration. I want you to be happy for these dudes. I want you to be happy for the Blink camp. And I want you to be stoked for what, you know, we're going to get in the next year and a half for sure at this point. You know, it's just something that, and I want to touch base on this a tad. You know, like I said, I don't like to get personal, and I don't want to bore everybody or get miserable with this kind of thing. But the reason I bring it up I'll never forget. There was a Tom interview, and I can't remember what avenue it was or who it was with. But there was a quote in there from Tom that I always play in my head whenever I'm having a shitty day or a bad time. And he said that a lot of people think life is dealing with the good times and talking about the good times. And that's what you see whenever you look at social media or whatever. And he said, actually, it's the reverse of that. A lot of life is really dealing with the bad times and the shitty times. And, throughout the past year for me on a personal note, dealing with some of that stuff where I literally don't have time for shit. I mean, chasing around a 3.5-year-old, wife basically stuck in bed, newborn screaming all night. I mean, you're lucky if you can take a peaceful shit for those of you who have young kids. It's something that Tom's quote there, along with my man, David Parkey, listener of the pod, he has a Jimmy Eat World podcast. He messaged me one time during the past couple months, and he said, it's okay to not be okay. And it's something that I tell myself all the time, and I don't know that he invented that, David, but I appreciated the message and the point of it. But it is okay to not be okay. And so for those of you who are listening, if you're having a shitty day or a bad time, or you just don't think you can get through whatever you're going through, I want you to know that it's okay to not be okay. And think about, what some of these folks had to go through, what Tom was faced with at that point in time, losing family, band, everybody thinks you're crazy. Mark faced with cancer, you'll get through it. And, I want you to know that you're not alone there. And that's very important to me because, I don't typically think that I'm the type who would need to reach out or would need help or would need, somebody to talk me off the ledge, so to speak, as far as just like needing a fucking mental break and to get out of Dodge. But it happens. And I want you all to know as listeners, you guys are my friends. And that's something that I've missed so much in the past 4 or 5 months when I haven't been able to get behind the microphone and just chat is I love you guys. Like I love talking Blink with you guys. And I love being able to stream and just have fun and shoot the shit. And it's because of this band and because of these individuals that I know you all and am able to have this creative outlet to kind of talk and discuss and have these fun conversations with you all. So I just want you all to know that, my messages are always open. If you need to reach out, hit me up. And I always appreciate any messages from you all. And just, as you know, chatting, shooting the shit about Blink, that's what I'm here for. When it comes to the Blink stuff, I'm not here for clickbait. I'm not here for headlines. I'm not here to stir up rumor mills. I wanted this to play out and let the folks who were doing all this work behind the scenes have this day because it's an amazing rollout. Everybody's fucking stoked. And that's what I'm here for. I've never made $1 off this podcast. This is Blink fan doing rad shit for Blink fans. That's the way I've always pitched this. I don't want this podcast to be a burden. It always just needs to fit in with my life as it makes sense. So with that being said, that's my TED Talk for today. Here on T-Day, we've got T-Day for Tom. We've got T-Day for Poppin's TED Talk. Let's switch gears to Blink as far as the announcements that we got today. Okay. It was amusing to see, I guess, the information, the disinformation, who was right, see who was wrong, see kind of the rumors floating throughout the various social media accounts to see kind of where folks were getting their intel and such. I don't know that anybody really probably until yesterday or the day before knew the full scope of what was going to be coming out. But, today we find out World Tour, which is huge, Arena Tour, which is huge. This is going to take place next year. Not only that, the Tom news, which we kind of just discussed, obviously, breaking the internet. I have had so many people text me today and reach out to me today, like friends that I haven't talked to in 4 or 5 years. And they're like, dude, did you hear the news about Tom? I'm like, motherfucker, do you not think I have heard the news about Tom? I have a fucking Blink podcast. You don't think I'm on top of this? but it's just awesome. I love it. It's just so cool to see the excitement all over. Just people hitting me up, talking about this on social media. It really is an exciting day, and we're in for an exciting time for sure. On top of that, we got a new single coming out Friday. And then, as if that's not enough, we've got a new album that they mentioned. And another thing that I want to point out is the new logo. The new logo is fucking rad. So that kind of leaked a couple days ago when it started popping up on billboards and throughout. I think it was like in Mexico or some of the overseas places or down south. I think they were popping up as far as promotion goes. So not that Mexico's overseas. I'm not that fucking stupid, even though I'm kind of stupid here in Indiana. Let's talk about the tour stuff first. So this is going to kick off March 11th. Mark your calendars, 2023. You're going to see Blink on stage with Tom for the first time in a long time. Stoked. This is going to be in Mexico. So you already know the Blink-182 Mexico is going to have some coverage there, no doubt. I know they're fucking stoked. This is going to happen basically a couple months. They're doing some shows down south. And then on May 4th through July 16th, they kick off the North American side of things. That's where I'm going to catch some of the shows. And then September through October, they're doing a Europe stretch. And then 2024, they're hitting Australia. So really, no matter where you are in the world right now, you're going to have a pretty good shot at catching Blink in the next year and a half, certainly more than you have in the past few years, which is amazing. They're coming to Brazil. We may not have to ever hear that or see that again in any type of chat room or Instagram post. I want to go on Shark Tank. I want to pitch a t-shirt for Blink that says, "Came in Brazil." I think they should sell that t-shirt whenever they finally play that show. And I know, this news for some folks has literally just brought tears. People are just so overcome with joy that they're finally going to get a chance to see their favorite band. Honestly, like today as a Blink fan, it's Christmas. It's the most exciting news you could ever imagine from every angle. So, the tour, I'm definitely going to catch a couple shows at least. I will definitely have some rad pictures and coverage whenever that happens. We're going to have to wait a little bit, a lot of life between now and then, but it's on the books, and I'm stoked for that, no doubt. Now, in the immediate future, I am stoked for this new song that's coming out on Friday. It's called Edging. And we got a little bit of a tease on it, not too much of it. I know Tom is on it. I know Mark is on it. I'll probably have to do another episode to get into that. I've not heard it at this point. So this is going to be rad and new for me. So I'm stoked on that. When I first listened to it, my immediate thought is it reminded me kind of No More Guns on Lifeforms, which of all the songs on Lifeforms, that's one that I felt kind of didn't fit so much on Lifeforms because it almost just, to me, it sounded more off of like Tom's Demos Odds and Ends album, which he said was basically ideas for Blink. So actually that makes kind of sense in my head if you think about it. So I am just ecstatic for that. This is just the happiest week ever. And then again, the new logo dropped. And it's so rad. Like I was wondering if they were going to come out with a new logo. This is a new era, no question about it. So I was thinking, maybe they'll launch a new logo with this. They've kind of used that last one for several albums at this point. And I was hoping that they came out with something new, and they did, and it's even more rad than I could ever imagine. Essentially, if you glance at it, in my head, you get the Untitled vibes for a second, but it's kind of got the pill logo like Enema built in. But if you look at the letters, they actually have each letter is in reference to a previous Blink album. So it's really just a perfect celebration of their history and kind of this new era and this new comeback with Tom. It was really rad to see that. They have a couple t-shirts available today on the merch site. The merch site got a new redesign. The website got a new redesign. That's when shit kind of hit the fan the past couple days. Like I was seeing the rumors and I was keeping an eye on when stuff was gonna, start making its way out. And there were people who were kind of doing some major sleuth, getting some information, and some of it I thought was accurate, some of it not so much. But when they wiped the socials, and when folks started seeing the billboard pop up and the new logo, that's when I was thinking, okay, even for folks who are skeptical right now, like you got to be pretty sure something's happening at this point, surely, because it's extremely obvious. Yeah, and then the socials, they stripped the old logos, and we've got it looks like the greatest hits one, black background with the smiley. And that's actually on the back of the t-shirts that dropped today as well. So I need to snag one of those. I think they're $20. Blink182merch.com. Just a really fucking rad day. I didn't even know if I was going to be able to get a pod out today. Like I said, I'm exhausted. I haven't had any time. I have a newborn. But I'm just running off Blink adrenaline right now, and I just needed to talk about this. In the past few months, a couple things that I probably would have hit on if I were going to do a podcast is the merch side of things. Let's talk about that quickly. Blink has been celebrating 30 years. It's been hashtag Blink30. That's a big deal. I mean, it's crazy that it's been 30 years since those dudes met up and started making music. One of the things that I really love is they've been dropping a new pin each month. So I've been collecting those throughout the months. Hope to get a full set together. They did one of the months, I think it was August. They did the gold one. Most of them have been out of 182, but the month that they did a gold one, it was kind of unlimited, or at least not limited to 182. I don't know how many total were made, but one person got an actual gold one. And I saw the dude, I think he posted it on Mark's Discord. I mean, we know somebody got it and was stoked about it, and they said they're keeping it. Here's an open invitation for that person to come on the podcast. I can't recall your name, can't recall your username, but if you're listening and you want to come chat about Blink, free invite to 182 News. Let's jump on. Let's talk about your fandom, and let's shoot the shit, because that's fucking rad, and I'm so stoked for you, and I hope that you have it like in the most rad display hanging in your room, and you stare at it every single day. So for the merch side of things, it's been really cool to see some of the things they've been rolling out. Mr. T-shirt just doing the Lord's work as usual, absolutely crushing it on the Blink merch. I even went to Hot Topic the other day. Hot Topic has had some rad Blink stuff. I mean, they redid that Mark, Tom, and Travis show shirt. I just posted that on my Instagram. I just noticed I busted out the old one and compared it to the new one, and I didn't realize until I had them side by side that is a completely different pose. So if you look at it, there's just subtle differences. It was the same photo shoot, obviously, but just a different shot, which I thought was really cool. It was faded, some text added. Mr. T-shirt does a great job for the collectors of making sure that you can differentiate OG from the new stuff, just so that collectors always know that they've got an original compared to, like a remake or a reprint, something like that. So that was super sick. I also kind of joked on there, and it's not really a joke, but I said the original has shot up in value. I mean, you used to be able to get some of these shirts for like $30 to $50, $75 at most, and that OG Mark, Tom, and Travis show shirt is like $400 or $500 now, and it's because Kourtney Kardashian rocked it in public, and there was a photo. And so in my Instagram story, I was like, "Thank you, Kourtney, for making my T-shirt. That was $50." Now worth $400 or $500. Actually, mine's signed, no big deal. And actually, that's a good point. I should touch base on this in regards to Tom being back and Blink being back and everything. I don't want it to go unsaid or unnoticed, but obviously a huge ordeal is Travis, being able to fly now, overcoming his fear of flying, which, to be honest, I never thought that would happen, and I was not going to blame him one fucking bit on that. You guys know the history there, and Travis hasn't really flown since his accident up until not too long ago. And so for folks overseas or faraway countries, that is a huge ordeal for Travis. I'm so fucking happy for him. I'm so proud of him overcoming his fear. And, I think we probably have Kourtney to thank quite a bit for that, to be honest, because, it seemed like, their relationship and him being able to kind of overcome that fear with her is just huge. So, I mean, shout out Courtney. It seems like Travis is so happy. He's flying. Everything is rad. So, I just want everybody to be happy, and it's just really fucking cool. Diving into Tom a little bit here. So, you know, again, this is kind of stuff that I probably would have hit on prior if I would have been able to get a pod out. But, leading up to the rumor mill on this stuff was essentially a podcast he did with Steve-O. And if you trace this back, Steve-O kind of asked him what he was up to, and he kind of stutters for a second, and he said, recording guitars. And that's really when I first started seeing people kind of think, oh, what's he recording guitars for? And then he kind of posted a couple pictures of guitars, and I was seeing a couple people pick up on it, but not everybody, and it wasn't super obvious. But at the same time, it kind of was. And that's kind of where this got started. Now, I will say he followed that up by saying that Angels was working on a live album, which, a lot of folks were just stoked for that. And, if that is the case, which I think it is, to be honest, reason being, Aaron Rubin, who's, Alon's older brother, who has typically been kind of engineering or producing Tom and Angels and that side of things. He posted an Instagram story the other day talking about the live album, and he had a title and Logic or whatever editing program that said he was working on the Angels live album. So I do think that's probably in the works. I don't think that was disinformation, although Tom may have been misleading us, or Aaron may have been misleading us, but I hope it's true. I hope it's true, because that last tour, Angels sounded great. It was rad. And I think everybody would be super stoked with a live album coming out of the Angels camp for sure. As far as what he had been up to, outside of Blink, everybody thought he was basically working on the live album, as well as he still has this Monsters of California movie coming out. So super stoked for that. It's kind of his directing debut, although I'm pretty sure he directed videos and at least was heavily involved in Love. I thought I'd have to fact check. I don't have notes on this in front of me at the moment, but stoked for Monsters of California. I know Alon and Aaron had worked on scoring that. So in my head, if Blink wasn't going to happen, from Tom, we had a live album to look forward to this year, as well as this movie, which, he's put a ton of time into, super proud of. It looks hilarious. So I was stoked for whatever Tom was going to be up to this year. And then obviously today's news just changes everything. And we've got even more stuff to be stoked about. So, big year, potentially for sure, coming out of Tom and what he's up to. And on the To the Stars side of things, shout out to the Stars. I always love checking their stuff out, and obviously support whatever Tom puts out. The two things that I've just been super stoked for are these mini guitars. So Axe Heaven, I believe, is who's been making them. They've been putting out these basically models of Tom's guitars. They're little miniature models, collectibles. And at this point, we have the BCR, we've got the Surf Strat, we've got the Gibson, we've got the Boxcar black and white stripe Fender, and coming up, we have the yellow Strat. So stoked that they're still pumping these out. I'm waiting for the sticker Strat. It's got to be coming. I will lose it when we get to the sticker Strat. And again, remember the sticker Strat. What a beautiful guitar. Love that guitar. Let's switch gears a little bit on Mark's side of things. I don't recall, honestly, I can't remember when I did the last podcast. I don't know if we talked about the second batch of the Mark Hoppus bass guitars, or if it wasn't even out yet or announced. Mark had 50 released in the first batch. This is the pink ones. I was able to snag one of those. I have a video of the unboxing of that on the 182 News YouTube page. If you want to check that out and just live vicariously through me. It seemed like most folks were able to get in on the second batch who wanted one. They did 300. So 300 additional orders were available for that. That happened. Everybody was stoked. They were available. They didn't sell out in 2 seconds. They sold out pretty quickly, but it wasn't 2 seconds. So I think anybody who really wanted one and was dedicated was able to get one. On the Hi, My Name is Mark page, I believe there is an email if you were interested in a third batch. I think you can email them and get put on some sort of waiting list. And then Mark has mentioned that the next one that they're going to put out is going to be the Daphne Blue one. So if you've kind of been waiting, if for some reason you're just sold on the Daphne Blue and you were kind of waiting for other models to come out, it does look like another model is going to come. I believe it's in prototype form at this point. So follow Hi, My Name is Mark. Pay attention to Mark's posts. I'm sure those will be coming hopefully sooner rather than later. No release date thus far, but I would assume it's going to be fairly limited again, probably same price, same specs, all that good stuff. Pins. I love pins. Although not as much as Mario 182. He's the pinhead for sure. But the pink Mark Hoppus base pin came out, which was really rad. So it was cool to see the Hi, My Name is Mark pink base pin right next to the pink base. That was cool. I think I posted a picture of that. And then last week, this is honestly probably going to be my second favorite Hi, My Name is Mark release ever. They released the Jin pin. So for those of you who would tune in to Mark on Twitch throughout the past couple years, a lot of times he was playing this bass guitar that Alan Corona made, along with David Salis. Both have been on the podcast. I actually had them on, it was probably about a year ago, to discuss how they came up with this, how they designed it, how they got it to Mark. Go back and listen to that episode if you don't know the history of that. It's really rad. And on most of Mark's Twitch streams at the time, he was playing what he dubbed Jin. It's called Jin because it's based off of Ghost of Tsushima, the video game. The main character is Jin Sakai, and there's a funny reference on the guitar. It's a little bird that's a character in GOT that we would play with online. So that's why it's named Jin, if you don't know the history behind that. And again, go listen to that podcast if you want the full details, because it's a beautiful guitar. It's really rad, and the whole story of how it came about and how they got it to Mark was really cool. Since then, that's the bass guitar that people were spotting at Travis's studio. So again, that kind of tied into the rumor mill of, oh, I think Mark's over recording with Travis. What are they working on? Blah, blah, blah. So it's rad that Mark really liked that guitar and played it a lot, and obviously appears to be using it in the studio in some fashion. I was wondering if they would ever do a pin of that, because I love these Hi, My Name is Mark pins, have them all. And last week they announced that they are, and they came out and they dropped. They sold out super quick. There were 400, I believe, sold out in like a minute. Thankfully, I was able to snag that. In fact, I hope it gets delivered today. But yeah, hope you had a chance to get that. If not, I believe David Salis, who's the artist on Instagram, he's at Daily Dave. I believe he is going to have some available. I don't know if he's going to create a shop or how he's going to do it, but I believe he's going to have some signed copies as the artist through his own platform. So if you totally missed out on one of those, pay attention to my buddy Dawid and see if you can figure out whenever he drops his. I'm sure he'll be posting about it, or how, I don't know how he's going to do it at this point, but I think you'll have a chance to snag one there. They've done this with the other artists. It's a really cool thing that they do. They give the artist a batch that they can sign and kind of sell on their own, which is very kind. Okay, that's a lot to get through. What an exciting day. I'm shocked I even still know how to work this damn thing. But it is a beautiful day in Blinkland. So I wanted to just hop behind a microphone and talk. I've had a lot of folks hit me up who were asking me about my thoughts on this. I promise you, I wasn't ignoring you. I just was not going to say anything until the official announcement came out. Today, it's official. Blink-182 is fucking back. Tom is back. We've got a new single. We've got a new album. We've got a world fucking tour. Everything is rad. And it's just a special thing. So I cannot say enough how much I want you all to go see them. And I'm so stoked for the folks who maybe never had a chance to see them with Tom, or maybe this is your first time seeing Blink in general. It doesn't matter what age you are. I'm just so hyped for everybody talking about Blink today, everybody being stoked. Go out and get these tickets. I think the pre-sales start tomorrow. These tickets are going to go quick. So you need to get on these pre-sales. You need to go to these shows, have the time of your life. we will dive deep into, I'm hoping to get a pod up at some point about the song. Obviously, as we get more information and start hopefully getting an idea on the album release, I have no clue when that's going to drop. I suspect probably, I would think early, probably spring next year would be my guess, if I had to guess, because, I suspect they would probably want to drop that leading into the tour. But between now and then, I wouldn't be shocked if we get 4 or 5 songs. That's kind of how bands do things these days. So it's a great day to be a Blink-182 fan. I hope you guys get tickets. I hope you guys are just as stoked as I am. It really is a special thing. And, as always, what I tell folks is go out and see these folks. I don't care if you have to sell a bunch of crap to get a plane ticket. It's going to be worth your time to make this trip. Go do it. You will not regret it. It is a special thing to see these folks. It's, to me, I mean, it's my vacations. It's like I put Blink on the calendar. Boom. This is going to be a happy day. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Again, thank you for everybody who's reached out, touched base with me in the past few months. It's been a weird fucking time, but getting through it. I'm at Poppin' Curbs on Twitter and Instagram. Follow the pod page at 182 News Pod on Instagram, at 182 News on Twitter. And, I think I'll try to talk to you sooner than last time. Hopefully not too long. Happy day in Blinkland. Blink-182 Life for Life. We'll talk soon. Tom is back.